Kill to the motherfucking greed alive, baby. I'm here! Here! Yeah. Kidding me. Alright. more litter. More kitty litter. Fucking closet! Stop! Me! Stalker! Alright, more kitty litter. Unopened. I gotta take it! Take the old kitty litter out! Yeah, I gotta take the old kitty litter out. It's gonna be a workout. I got it in 2 bags. Let's take it out. Yeah. All right. I took out the old litter exchange. Exchange. Okay. Okay, babos. Yeah. All right, close it. change the wick out, or the flint out every month and a half or so. But I haven't had to do it not in a while. Just had to put more fluid in it. Fluid. Fluid. Yep. Yeah, get this off here. What is up, people? Look at all those wires. Oh. We're in. Again. I deal it. Coming. Deal again. Oh. It's like 30 degrees outside. But I got the winter get up in the closet. The coveralls, the thick thermal socks, the doggy ear hat, which doubles as Argo's nursey hat because he nurses on that little flap right there. So, yeah. I had another one, but I lost it. Oh. 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 There's like, yeah. Still tired. Got about 8 hours of sleep. Literally about it. About 8 hours of sleep. Seven. There's a beeping noise. Right. No! No! 27, 8. Yep. 27, 28. No, it isn't American. Oh, mm, oh, oh. Yeah. Oh, oh, and anyway, we, yeah, man. Oh, what win? Oh, oh, yeah. All right. Win, 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 win. Me. Fly. Fly in front of me. Fly. Fly. Now I am going to my flies. Okay. Oh. Say, I'm gonna more, plastic, more, you know me, you know me. Okay, you can jump up ups and cuddle wubbles if you want, kitty bubbies. Oh. Yeah. Get me ever taller! Taller? Nigga! Nigga! Let's watch the news. Oh.
An offer of full apology. This is what he said at a state banquet held in his honour by President Ruto of Kenya.
The wrongdoings of the past are a cause of the greatest sorrow and the deepest regret. There were abhorrent and unjustifiable acts of violence committed against Kenyans as they waged, as you said at the United Nations, a painful struggle for independence and sovereignty.
Yeah.
That there can be no excuse.
So,
United Nations.
apology. No mention of reparations.
There has been efforts to atone for the death, injury, and suffering inflicted on Kenyan Africans by colonial government. Much remains to be done in order to achieve full reparations.
We'll still continue pushing. Yeah, the struggle continues.
As it does in an increasing number of former British colonies across Africa and the Caribbean.
CNN's Max Foster joins me now from Nairobi, Kenya. Max, very good to see you. It looks warm over there. So, on the face of it, for those of us who don't understand the royals as you do, it might seem counterintuitive for the British monarch to go and visit for a 60-year anniversary of the end of British rule over Kenya. What is the purpose of the visit? What is King Charles hoping to get out of it?
So it's really, he's here on government advice. So they're trying to establish a firm relationship between Kenya and the UK. Relationship going forward, of course, getting those economic ties firmed up as well post-Brexit. So it's about forward-looking, but they are being forward-looking. We're going to see a bit more about that later on in the tour. But this first dealing with the big, which is the rebellion and put upon the people of Kenya. And we've actually just had King Charles at this cemetery, this war cemetery. He met World War II veterans, one of which was 117 years old. Samuel, he was called. They actually had to throw their their medals away during the uprising in the 1950s because they didn't want to be associated with the UK. Today, Charles came here and presented them with new medals. So small token gestures perhaps, but also symbols really of how they're trying to move on from the past and forge a way ahead.
In terms of popular sentiment, is there a desire to forge deeper ties with Britain, given the complex and dark legacy of colonialism there?
Well, certainly the people we've spoken to, you know, they feel that was a great era of suppression in Kenya, and the legacy lives on, and a lot of it is associated with the economy and how the chaos that followed British rule really damaged the economy and damaged society here. So I think there is a will actually to re-establish ties with the United Kingdom as a full equal partnership going forward, so they can benefit in terms of the economy. Always a shadow of what happened in the 1950s, but I think there is a genuine will to deal with that. Of course, Kenyans want reparations, which is something the UK isn't offering and probably can't even afford at this point.
Max Foster for us in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you so much. I'll see you in a couple of days. Parts of northern Italy are dealing with heavy rain and violent winds. Flash flooding on Tuesday pounded Milan and caused Lake Como to overflow its banks. The severe weather took down trees, ripped off roof tiles, and knocked out power. Heavy rains also hammered Tuscany. Forecasters say the wet weather will last through most of the week. It's been a year of deadly flooding in northern Italy. In May, storms killed at least 14 people. More than 20 rivers broke their banks, causing hundreds of landslides, submerging homes, and devastating farmland. That does it here today for CNN Newsroom. I'm Bianca Nobilo in London. Early Start is up for you next.
We can all agree that Biden's a disaster.
Absolute embarrassment.
I can't believe what's happening at the border.
The border is a train wreck. Inflation, inflation, inflation.
And Kamala Harris, she's even worse. If Biden wins, Kamala Harris is president.
Voted for Trump, love what he did.
I'm not sure this time Trump can get it done.
The man just can't help himself.
He had his shot, but he can't save us now.
AFP Action is responsible for the content of this advertising.
We can all agree that Biden's a disaster.
Absolute embarrassment. If Biden wins, Kamala Harris is president.
I'm not sure this time Trump can get it done.
The man just can't help himself.
He had his shot, but he can't save us now.
Honey. Dayquil Severe Honey. Powerful flu and flu symptom with a honey-rich taste. Because life doesn't stop for a cold. Dayquil Honey. The daytime coughing, aching, stuffy head
Another
fever,
quote.
delicious
Just
power through your
say
day. Medicine.
in real world.
Is it menopause?
Read say.
Something else.
Here say. Let's say read
Why
here.
don't I
Say
feel
it.
like myself?
Nigga.
Could this be menopause?
Go.
What's happening to me?
Er.
The menopause journey has stages. Learn about yours with Clear Blue Menopause Stage Indicator that tracks your FSH hormone levels, combining them with your cycle data. The more you learn about your stage, the better
Well,
prepared you can be. Clear Blue
Go get
Menopause
more Z
Stage
though.
Indicator.
Nat
What's your
killer.
menopause stage?
Thursday night football on Prime. It's on. Thursday night football is on as the Tennessee Titans take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Stream Thursday night football only on Prime.
With SAP Concur, approving, processing, and reimbursing business expenses is a piece of cake. Everything is cake, even Brian.
Yep, I'm cake.
It is now November! My birthday. It's actually in 11 days, not 12. Because it's the 12th of November!
It's Olay,
November!
'cause my skin needs more than basic moisturizer.
November!
I see it working.
November!
Instantly hydrating my
November!
skin.
Rah,
In
rah.
one, skin looks up to 10 years younger. In one jar, Olay visibly smooth,
Well, I
even
bet.
stone, strengthens
Olay,
skin,
Olay,
and
Olay.
firms for a lifted look. I use Olay niacinamide every day for glowing, gorgeous skin. Or your money back. Your best skin yet. Olay.
Watch how easy it is to put on new hands-free
Okay.
Skechers slip-ins. I just step in and go. Sitting doesn't matter. Don't even have to touch them. Ooh, gangsta. In a hurry? There's not a faster, easier way to put on your shoes. They know it when they see it.
The delicious recipe for natural bliss starts with almond milk, sugar, and Madagascar vanilla. It's not just coffee, it's bliss. Natural bliss.
Right now, on early start, the deal just brokered with Hamas, Israel, and Egypt to let foreign nationals get out of Gaza. Plus, the IDF defending a deadly strike on a crowded refugee camp in Gaza, what Israel says the intended target was. And just hours from now, in a New York courtroom, the oldest son of former President Trump could take the stand in a fraud trial against the family business. Good morning to our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Casey Hunt. It's Wednesday, November 1st, 5 a.m. on the East Coast. We begin with breaking news. Sources telling CNN that a deal has been reached among Israel, Hamas, and Egypt in coordination with the U.S. to release all foreign nationals who have been stuck in Gaza, along with critically injured civilians. The sources say the deal is separate from any hostage negotiations. CNN's Rafael Romo is live for us in Tel Aviv. Rafael, we've just learned about this in the last hour or so. What more do we know about what happens next?
Casey, good morning. First of all, we have to say that this agreement is, as you mentioned before, and this is crucial, very important, because there are many families waiting not only for these civilians, but also from the hostages. And it is separate, indeed, from any hostage negotiations. And yes, it is a deal that was brokered by Israel, Hamas, and Egypt with coordination with the United States with the purpose of releasing all foreign nationals. And according to sources familiar with the negotiations, Casey, critically injured civilians will also be allowed to get out of Gaza. Now, I have to tell you, this is still very preliminary, and there's no timeline or details on the number of people to be released. What we had previously been reported was that 81 injured Palestinians were expected to arrive at the Rafah crossing at some point today after the massive attack yesterday by Israel at the Jabalia refugee camp. But in any case, this agreement marks a major breakthrough when it comes to getting civilians out of Gaza. Many of those civilians, Casey, are American citizens with U.S. passports that have been stuck there since the beginning of the war. So very good news for them and their families. Casey?
Rafael, can you tell us a little bit more about the large numbers of civilians that were killed and injured in the airstrike at the refugee camp you mentioned? That's in northern Gaza. I mean, the IDF says that they succeeded in killing a top Hamas commander, but obviously the civilian casualties were just devastating.
Yeah, that's right. One doctor on the ground said there were hundreds of people who had died, dozens of others injured. We are working ourselves to get confirmation on the specific numbers, but let me tell you, Casey, there's been widespread condemnation across the region to the attack. The governments of Egypt, Iran, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE as well as the Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs have all denounced the attack. One of the most forceful condemnations came from Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who said that Israel, quote, has completely lost its mind and acts like an organization, adding that Israel, backed by the unconditional support of Europe and America, has been committing crimes against humanity for 25 days. What is Israel saying to all the criticism? This is what spokesman Jonathan Conricas had to say just a few hours ago. Let's take a listen.
I'm not saying that there are no civilian casualties. What I am saying is that we struck an important military objective. This Ibrahim Briari, who was a battalion commander, he and many dozens of enemy combatants were in a tunnel complex underneath the ground. We struck that tunnel complex and that caused it to collapse. Hamas built that vast tunnel complex underneath the buildings and it probably collapsed as a result of the strike.
And Casey, he added that not allowing civilians to evacuate the combat zone is also a crime against humanity. Hiding behind civilians, using them as human shields, is also a war crime. And even countries as far away from here as Colombia and Chile have decided to recall their ambassadors to Israel for consultation due to Israel's strikes on Gaza. And Bolivia has cut off diplomatic relations with Israel, citing crimes against humanity. Casey?
Okay, Rafael Romo in Israel for us. Thank you very much for that report. The Biden administration under pressure as the number of civilian casualties grows in Gaza. Plus, Donald Trump Jr. under oath later today with the family business on trial in New York.
Businesses need 5G solutions today. That's why they choose T-Mobile for Business. MLB with T-Mobile not only enhances the fan experience, but to advance how the game is played. AAA relies on T-Mobile's network to stay connected nationwide so they can help get their members back on the road. And we're helping Pano AI innovate to stop the spread of wildfires. Now's the time to see what America's largest 5G network can do for your business.
Oh. 20,000 times more light sources than other TVs. OLED TV, nothing else.
Thursday night football on Prime. It's on. Thursday night football is on as the Tennessee Titans take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Stream Thursday night football only on Prime.
Set the tone. And the rest will follow. Basil Hayden Bourbon.
Next. Next. Stop.
Got it?
No. Keep going.
Again.
Next.
If you don't pick one.
Oh, you have time. Am I keeping you from your job? Next. I don't even know where I am anymore. Stop.
You finally have it.
Let's go back to the beginning.
Are you?
Your electric future customized with the fully electric Audi Q4 e-tron.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I feel free to bare my skin thanks to Sky Rizzy. I'm celebrating my clearer skin my way. With Sky Rizzy, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. In another study, most people had 90% clearer skin even at 5 years. And Sky Rizzy is just 4 doses a year after you started. Serious allergic reactions and infections or inability to fight them may occur. If you have an symptoms, had a vaccine, or clear skin with Sky Rizzy. This is my limit. There's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Unlike Russia and Ukraine, and unlike what Hamas did on the 7th of October, the killing of civilians is not a war aim of Israel. I'm not denying that it's happening. Now, of course it is, and it's tragic. But it's not the goal of Israeli forces to go out and deliberately take innocent civilian life, and they have tried to make efforts to minimize that.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby making a critical distinction between the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7th and Israel's attacks in Gaza that Israel says are focused on eliminating Hamas leaders and armed fighters. Let's bring in retired Australian Army Major General Mick Ryan. He joins us live from Brisbane, Australia. General, thanks for being with us. Let's talk about the distinction that is being made here, because there are, of course, civilians who have been terribly impacted by the strikes that Israel is making. Obviously, there are accusations of war crimes from the Palestinian side. Israel says this is aimed at legitimate targets, and that the reality is the people they're targeting, Hamas, are building these tunnels and putting military infrastructure underneath human beings, and that's what makes it so hard. How do you view each side's argument here?
Well, it's certainly a very difficult balancing act for the Israelis to achieve here. Yes, there are legitimate targets that they're going after in Gaza, but military necessity and proportionality are also very important principles at play here. And beyond the laws of war, there's also the need to engage in ethical conduct at the end of the day. To kill a couple of enemy combatants but then accidentally kill 100 civilians, we need to question the proportionality of that.
Yeah, I mean, when Israel talks about eliminating Hamas, it does seem as though, as a military objective, you know, I've spoken to many of your American counterparts over the last few weeks about this, and a number of them have made the argument that it may actually be an impossible strategic objective because of the nature of the enemy. What is your sense, and how should that factor into what you importantly raised, this question of proportionality?
Well, destroying Hamas clearly is the goal of the Israeli government, but whether that can be achieved or not, I think, is a very good question to ask. You're not just killing people and destroying their tunnels or their infrastructure. You have to destroy an idea. You have to destroy the things that make it attractive to become part of Hamas. And if those things, which are not military tasks, if those things aren't taken care of, all the military action in the world will not remove Hamas in the long term.
Can we talk a little bit about this breaking news that we had earlier this morning, which is, a deal has been announced that Qatar has apparently brokered to get all foreign nationals out of Gaza. Hamas has been refusing to let a lot of these people leave, and also to bring out critically injured Palestinians. They would be the first Palestinians allowed out since this conflict began. That, of course, has more to do with Egypt. How important is this agreement at this stage?
It's extraordinarily important. There are a lot of people in Gaza who have dual nationalities, who have dual passports, and they want to get out. Hamas hasn't let them get out, plus the border hasn't been open. So this is very important to be able to get those people out, as well as to extract those who need critical treatment in Egypt.
And on the humanitarian aid front, I mean, one of the things we saw earlier this week, too, was reports from the UN of looting. They called it a breakdown in civil disorder. The other narrative around that was, well, perhaps Hamas is stealing supplies. How is that kind of balance playing out right now?
Well, certainly Hamas isn't helping. We saw an interview in the last 24 hours talking about the tunnels. Well, admit it, the tunnels aren't to protect the people of Gaza, they're for Hamas. And I think the same could be said of the critical supplies. Hamas is hoarding them for themselves. That said, there is an obligation to provide humanitarian assistance, and helping Israel to defend itself and providing humanitarian assistance to the people of Gaza do not need to be a one or another discussion. Both can be done.
There is some reporting this morning, not confirmed by CNN, so I don't want to get into the details, but suffice to say there are conversations about what should happen in Gaza from a governance perspective in the wake of what we've seen. Obviously, Israel is not willing to accept what the status quo had been, which was Hamas acting. Obviously, there's the militant wing and the terrorists who committed these atrocities. There is also a governing wing of Hamas that is responsible for a wider range of services and other things. If we say, okay, that's not acceptable, there has to be something else. And there are potential options on the table, a peacekeeping force made up of different Western countries, a UN force, etc. What kind of conversations are going on in your corner of the world? Obviously, Australia, part of kind of a Western alliance, despite being located in a different part of the world.
Well, I think Australia certainly supports the right of Israel to defend itself, but also strongly believes in providing humanitarian assistance to Gaza. At the end of the day, this isn't just about destroying Hamas. More importantly, it's about making it irrelevant to the people of Gaza and giving them an option for better governance. I mean, Hamas even admitted in the wake of the September-October atrocities that it had been pretending to govern Gaza to trick the Israelis before those attacks. So the people of Gaza need a better choice, and at the end of the day, the strategic outcome has to be to make Hamas irrelevant, not just to destroy them.
All right, retired Australian Major General Mick Ryan, thank you very much for being with us this morning, sir. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
The White House and Senate Republicans pushing back on the new House Speaker's first big move. We're going to have more on the battle to unbundle aid for Israel and Ukraine. Plus, is Donald Trump getting a taste of his own medicines? Could some of his attacks on Biden be coming back to bite him?
Watch how easy it is to put on new hands-free Skechers slip-ins. I just step in and go. Sitting doesn't matter. Don't even have to touch them. Ooh, gangsta. In a hurry? There's not a faster, easier way to put on your shoes. They know a 10 when they see it.
Quick hits across America now. Federal officials say a 21-year-old Cornell student is now facing charges for allegedly making violent online threats against the university's Jewish community. The student could face up to 5 years in prison if convicted. The Supreme Court spent several hours hearing arguments over when and if a public official has the right to block a follower on social media. At issue, does the right to free speech apply when an official posts details about their government job online? It's a question they'll face in several upcoming cases. And the Senate confirmed former Treasury Secretary Jack Lew as the new U.S. ambassador to Israel. The 53-43 vote was primarily along party lines. Republicans objected to Lew's involvement with the Iran nuclear deal during the Obama administration. And it is the first morning of November, if you can believe that, and record-breaking cold temperatures are in store today from the southern plains to the northeast. Let's get straight to meteorologist Derek Van Dam. Derek, good morning to you. I will say I personally felt this on the East Coast last night when we were out for Halloween. I felt like it was getting steadily colder from about 3 p.m. on, and based on that snow behind you, there's some rough winter weather out there today.
Yeah, can I just give a bit of props to all the parents who are awake at this time of the morning, especially if you've got children that you lugged around in the snow? I mean, this is a real story. Out of the Great Lakes on Halloween, there was a few inches of snow from Chicago into my home state of Michigan. It got so windy, so snowy that the electricity went out in parts of West Michigan near the lakeshore, and they canceled trick-or-treating for some of the kids. Oh, drastic. But this is the scene that unfolded. This is lake effect snow band, and in fact, the latest radar shows some of those snow bands moving off the greater Chicago region, but right back into southwestern Michigan and right off of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario as well. A little closer look, and you can see some of those snow bands. Wow, that is a spooky Halloween forecast. We warned you yesterday that there would be a drastic cool down, and it's not just across the Great Lakes and the Midwest. It's all the way to the Mid-Atlantic and the East Coast. Check out D.C., our nation's capital. On the 30th of October, it was 82. I think today will only reach 51 degrees for the afternoon. So you're waking up to a cold start to November, and we have roughly about 60 potential record lows from today through tomorrow morning. That's why the National Weather Service has this hard freeze warning for places like Atlanta, Charlotte, all the way to D.C., and you can see that below freezing temperatures for much of the nation's midsection, still the lower 40s along the East Coast, but it's really nasty when you factor in the wind. Wind chill values well below freezing for many locations over the eastern two-thirds. The only silver lining in this forecast, Casey, is that we'll get a bit of sunshine because the cold front that brought the chill, the autumn weather, is well off the East Coast, so that'll help rebound at least the feeling on our skin because of the yellow sunshine in the sky. But wow, I'm telling you, if I got red eyes this morning, it's because my kids brought me around until at least 9 p.m. and my alarm goes off at 3 in the morning. Whew.
Yeah, you know, we yes, I still have younger kids, so you know I'm pretty good to go to bed with them around 7:30 at night.
Yeah.
So I feel you. I do think we have a lot of parents of young kids up with us at this hour of the day. We see you. Thank you for being here, Weatherman Derek Van Dam. Thank you very much, sir. It's great to have you. See you tomorrow. All right, up next here, a fleet of ambulances arriving to take the first Palestinian patients allowed out of Gaza when they are expected to cross into Egypt next. And former President Trump's son, Don Jr., expected to take the stand today. What to expect as his children begin testimony in the New York civil fraud trial against his companies ahead.
You've got advanced prostate cancer, but you're not waiting around. You want the facts about Agovix for advanced prostate cancer.
Fact, it's a pill, not an injection. Fact, 97% of men lowered their testosterone to goal and kept it there. Fact, it lowered PSA levels on average 92% after the first 3 months. Do not take Orgovix if you've had a severe allergic reaction to Relagolix or any of its ingredients. Stop taking Orgovix and get medical help right away if you have signs of an allergic reaction. Orgovix may cause serious side effects, including a heart condition called QT prolongation. Tell your doctor right away if you feel dizzy, faint, have a racing or pounding heart, or chest pain. Orgovix can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. The most common side effects include hot flushes, increased blood sugar and blood fat levels, muscle and joint pain, decreased blood hemoglobin levels, increased liver enzymes, tiredness, constipation, and diarrhea. Other side effects include weight gain, decreased sex drive, and erectile function problems. Orgovix may cause infertility.
Ask your doctor. Go with Agovix.
Why did we choose Safelight? We were loading our SUV when crack. Safelight came right to us, and we could see exactly when they'd arrive with a replacement we could trust. That service the way we want it.
Safelight Repair, Safelight Replace.
When you smell the amazing scent of Gain Flings, time stops. Your heart races. Your eyes close. And you realize you're in love.
Steve!
With a laundry detergent. Gain Flings. Seriously good scent. And 50% more fresh. Now that's love at first sniff.
Tim, my boyfriend Tim. He's so tall, very tall. Nothing fits. Giant. Eats a lot. Cooks a lot. Chops a lot. Etsy. Can I afford custom? Yes. Extra long apron.
Custom gifts for all budgets. Etsy has it.
Thursday night football on Prime. It's on.
Thursday night football is on as the Tennessee Titans take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Stream Thursday night football only on Prime.
Faith's Flowers wasn't living up to its name, but now she's using Amazon Business. With bulk orders that work around her schedule, plus easy ways to track spend, which means Faith has the time to make it, well, fantastic. Amazon Business, your partner for smart business buying.
Natasha? Is that how you say it? You look, wow. Well, thanks. It's Old Navy. What'd you say?
I have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Thanks to Skyrizi, I'm playing with clearer skin. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine, or plan to.
With Skyrizi, nothing on my skin means everything. Ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi. Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
That's the DQ Cheeseburger Lovers Deal. 2 singles for $5 or 2 doubles for $7 for a limited time. So, how is it? Deal this good speaks for itself, I guess. DQ, happy tastes good.
Good morning. Thank you for being up early with us. I'm Casey Hunt. 2 minutes or so before 5 a.m. here on the East Coast, and we have more now on our breaking news. There is a deal this morning to get all foreign nationals and critically injured civilians out of Gaza via the Rafah crossing. Sources tell CNN the deal was brokered by Qatar and includes Israel, Hamas, and Egypt. CNN's Scott McLean is live for us in London. Scott, good morning. We are getting new details just as we're coming on the air, so forgive me. This new urgent lines, about 400 foreign nationals, according to our latest reporting, could be released from Gaza under this Qatar-mediated deal. What more do we know?
Yeah, so if that were the case, that 400 foreign nationals were let out of Gaza under this deal, which, by the way, is according to sources who spoke with our colleague Becky Anderson, who is in Doha right now. If that were to be the case, that would not account for all of the foreigners inside Gaza. Antony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, said that there were 400 Americans alone looking to get out of Gaza, and many of them are looking to bring their families who may or may not have any status in the United States with them. Obviously, people are desperate to get to safety. You may recall American officials telling Americans on the ground in Gaza some 2 weeks ago to go to the Rafah border crossing in hopes that it might actually open. That never happened. People have been waiting under some pretty desperate conditions ever since. So this would be monumental. The question is, how many will ultimately get let out beyond today? And whether or not this is a sign of things to come, and whether everyone will be allowed to go. We are also seeing ambulances at the border. We have those pictures there. These are ambulances waiting on the Egyptian side, ready to take about 80 or 81 patients from Palestinian hospitals, people who need surgery that cannot be performed in Gaza, to a field hospital just inside the border with Egypt. This would mark the first Palestinians who are able to leave Gaza since this conflict began. And again, the question is this a sign of things to come, or is this a one-off?
All right, Scott McLean, thank you very much for that important update. Really appreciate your reporting this morning. And the Biden administration is seeking a $105 billion national security budget request that includes significant funding for Israel and Ukraine. Yesterday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who is heading to Israel late this week, and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin tried to make the case on Capitol Hill for keeping funding for these two crises together.
If we start to peel off pieces of this package, they'll see that. They'll understand that we are playing whack-a-mole while they cooperate increasingly and pose an ever greater threat to our security as well as to that of allies and partners.
Today's battles against aggression and terrorism will define global security for years to come. And only firm American leadership can ensure that tyrants and thugs and terrorists worldwide are not emboldened to commit more aggression and more atrocities.
Of course, the new Speaker, Mike Johnson, and House Republicans seem to have other ideas. Let's bring in CNN's Stephen Collinson, who's up early with us to talk about his new piece, looking at Mike Johnson, the new Speaker, and kind of this risky move that he is making. Stephen, thank you very much for being here. He is the House Speaker is basically saying not only is he going to separate Israel and Ukraine aid from each other, which is something that Democrats, the White House, think means it's less likely that Ukraine will get funded the way they would like to see it funded, but he also is putting spending cuts related to the IRS, basically these very right-wing conservative priorities into something that historically would really just go by itself, because the recognition would be, hey, we urgently need to aid Israel. I mean, that's something that the vast majority of members of Congress agree on.
That's right, and this is quite a surprising gambit from Mike Johnson as he opens his speakership. What he's doing is, as you say, he's setting up simultaneous clashes with Democrats by including these pay-fors, as they're called, on Capitol Hill to offset the cost of the $14 billion in Israeli funding. And he's setting up a clash with Republicans in the Senate and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell by splitting this away from the Ukraine package. McConnell favors President Joe Biden's approach of putting them all together. I think this is really interesting because you never get to see a new political leader almost creating his public persona and the foundation of his power from scratch. Normally, if it's a new president, we've seen them for 2 years on the campaign trail. Anyone that comes into high leadership in the Senate or the House has generally been in the public eye for years. So Mike Johnson is really starting from scratch here, and it's going to be really interesting to see how he maneuvers this issue as he looks ahead to the big government funding clash in a couple of weeks.
Right. No, that the stakes are incredibly high on an incredibly short timeline. I'm glad you mentioned McConnell because I want to show he was on Capitol Hill yesterday at his usual leadership conference, press conference, but he talked about this and put himself publicly on the record at odds with Mike Johnson. Take a look at McConnell.
That's an opinion many people have. It's not surprising, but in order to make a law, it has to pass both bodies and be signed by the president. My own view, I just expressed, is that we need to treat all four of these areas, all four of them, Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, and the border.
So, first of all, there are some really interesting semiotics there from McConnell, who seem to be saying...
Hey, Google.
The message seemed to be to Mike Johnson, hey,
Hey, Google. Set a timer for 17 minutes.
All right, 17 minutes. Starting now.
Yeah,
and the
cooking
border.
a pizza.
And the deal that basically Republicans had sort of made with Democrats here was, okay, we can lump this together if you give us border funding. It's a different way of approaching it, and one that's much more likely to actually pass. I mean, Mike Johnson, at the end of the day, is going to have to give up the ghost on this, no?
That's right. And that gulf of experience there between McConnell, who's been in Senate leadership for years, let alone, all of his years in Congress, and Johnson, who's just starting out, is pretty interesting. And it does lay bare these splits in the Republican Party between the old establishment Republicans like McConnell and Johnson, who comes from this pro-Trump far-right wing of the House, for whom McConnell is very unpopular. But at the end of the day, the dynamics of Washington are clear.